What's up guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Nathan, and today we're checking out this Olympus camera. Now let's go ahead and dive straight into it with the pros. So first off, this is a super lightweight camera. Depending on what lenses you add to it, it will affect the weight. The body alone weighing about 400 grams. And because this is a DSLR, you can easily swap out lenses with any other kind of Olympus lenses, and you're good to go. This camera also has exposure mode, so you can open up the shutter and allow it to collect tons of light. It even has bulb, which means you can hold down the button, and as long as you hold it down, the shutter will be open, letting in light. Now, when using it for astrophotography, it's not the best because this is an older camera and it has bad ISO, which we'll get to in a second, but it's a nice feature to have. And once again, because this is a DSLR, it has full manual controls, which a ton of cameras nowadays don't have full manual control, which just irritates me. So seeing full manual control on something like this is great. That way, I can get all my photos looking exactly how I want them to. Now this camera features a micro four thirds 10 megapixel sensor, and it's pretty good. It's definitely enough to get the job done, but it's nowhere near as good as the cameras today. So it can struggle with the highlights and shadows. So going back to how lightweight this camera is, it's also super solid. Even though it's constructed completely out of plastic, I found it's pretty well built. Now, what I love to see on this camera is that there is a side slot for the SD card. Because if you're like me, then when you're recording videos and then you have to get the footage off your SD card, you have to take your camera off the tripod, unscrew the plate on the bottom, take out your SD card, screw your plate when you're done exporting all this stuff, you have to put it back in, screw your plate back on and put it back on the tripod. It's just annoying. So being able to leave your camera on the tripod and open this door and take the SD card out and put it right back in is wonderful. Now autofocus is definitely not the greatest. It can struggle at times, but I've found that most of the time using this small kit lens, it does a pretty good job. Even when using this telephoto lens, I've found between 85 and 90% of the time it hits it dead on. Keep in mind though, it can be kind of annoying when you're zoomed all the way in and it doesn't focus, because the further in you're zoomed in, it tends to have a harder time. Alright, we got the good news out of the way. Let's jump into the bad stuff. I found when using this camera, it's kind of hard to grip at times. There's not a lot there to grip onto, and I found myself just kind of wanting a little bit more of a grip. It's definitely doable. I mean, you can still grip onto it pretty well. Maybe they were trying to keep the grip size down for weight. Who knows? Now I'm going to knock out two things in one blow right here. This camera is not very easy to use. So what I mean is the menu system is really hard to figure out. I spent forever trying to figure out how to get the menu system to work. Now, I'm sure if you're an Olympus user, you might know how to use it a little bit better, but me specifically, I'm a Canon guy, and so I just find it hard to figure out other camera companies, and especially for this camera. And the second thing is, it's not user-friendly. I found just going not only through the menu system, but also going through all the different settings on the dial is just kind of confusing. So, if you're getting this camera, just keep in mind that it is pretty complicated to figure out. Now, this camera doesn't have good ISO in the slightest. And because it was released in 2008, this camera's ISO range only goes up to 1600. And the sad thing is that its ISO isn't very good either. What I mean by this is that you can only turn it up to about 400 ISO or so before you start seeing noise in your image. So when you crank it all the way up to 1600, there's definitely a lot of noise. This camera also doesn't have good automatic mode in the slightest. I found it just kind of hunts around and focuses on I found when using it, it just kind of focuses on whatever and just overexpose one part while the other part's underexposed. It just kind of goes crazy and doesn't work very well. So I'd only recommend using manual mode, which definitely takes time to learn how to use. And it also can't record video. So this makes it strictly a photography camera. But that's okay, because honestly, I would only use this for photography because I have another camera that I'm using right now to record video. However, if you're looking for a camera to take both photos and video, then this one's not going to work. Alright, let's continue talking about this SD card slot on the side. So this SD card slot on the side isn't for SD cards. It's only for CF Express cards and XD cards. Now what I'm using is an XD card, which I don't know if I've ever seen. It's kind of weird looking, but hey, it works. And even though it uses an XD card, it's okay because you can just use the cord, plug it into your camera, and plug it into your computer, transfer videos that way. So anyway guys, that was my review of the Olympus E-420. If you enjoyed it, then please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one.